Here we've got the last of the 17th century folios, the fourth folio of 1685. Again from Richard Warner's wonderful collection and wonderful gift. Nice clear inscription there, 1756 is when he apparently acquired this fourth 17th century edition. So the third folio, just over 20 years before this, had introduced a supplement of 7 plays in a separate section at the end of the book. That's certainly how it's bound in the Wadham copy. Here, the fourth folio really trumpets that at the beginning, so the title page is quite different from that of the previous 3. Master William Shakespeare's Comedies, Histories and Tragedies, published according to the true original copies, unto which is added 7 plays, never before printed in folio. I mean, not true, as we've just seen, but never before printed in folio. Pericles, The London Prodigal, etc. The 4th edition. So this is proposing to be completer, more complete than previous editions. It's done the same thing as the previous folios, that's to say, to take the immediately preceding version and reprint with some probably purposeful corrections or changes and some accidental changes. That's always what happens when something is reprinted. What doesn't seem to have happened for the 4th folio is any kind of major editorial overview of how these plays are going to be produced. So it's not such an investment of energy and time and money on behalf of Herringman, the publisher. What's so interesting about this copy, I think, is how relatively little wear and tear it's got. But we have got some sense of how it was used. And this is a sign, this is a thing to make a librarian wince, but I absolutely love it. See this, this is a ring mark from a drinking vessel or an eating vessel of some sort on this page of The Tempest. So somebody's put their beaker or bowl or something down while they've been reading it. And that seems, I mean, that the sort of rare book person in me thinks, oh goodness, but the sort of anthropologist of the book thinks how fantastic to be reading The Tempest as an accompaniment to food and drink. The 4th folio, it was really important for 18th century editions of Shakespeare. People like Nicholas Rowe and Pope and Theobald, who were all editing in the 18th century, they all thought that the 4th folio had the most authority of any of the 17th century editions of Shakespeare, and so they used it much more assiduously than they used the earlier copies. And it's only really when Edmund Malone comes back to the editing of Shakespeare at the end of the 18th century that he makes an argument that the 1st folio is the closest to Shakespeare and to the theatre that he worked in, and therefore has the highest claims to be correct and should be given priority when thinking about editing. This is an edition which has continuous pagination. So previously the sections have been separately paginated, and here this is a more sort of complete book, which I think is indicated by that title page boasting about the additional plays. But those additional ones are still right at the end, after Cymbeline, which was the end of the 1st and 2nd folios. They're added in Pericles, The London Prodigal, etc. So this 4th folio may have been the one that Warner acquired earlier. It's a lovely fingerprint there, in kind of CSI library sort of way. Just trying to get a sense whether that's an ink fingerprint. It might well be. So a fingerprint from the print shop, from the sort of fingers, dirty fingers of the printers pulling these pages off the print, rather than a dirty finger mark after that. Yeah, so I think this might be the copy that Warner acquired first. It was probably the cheapest for him to buy at that point, but it's not for him being the copy that he wanted to work with most. We've seen that the third folio, his copy of the third folio, has all his annotations and his working for his great work, his glossary, in it. So this is a very slightly neglected feeling book, I think, and that's sort of true of the fourth folio. Generally, I think it's not a book that scholars have really given an awful lot of modern attention to, and I think it would be good to get back to it and to think about what Shakespeare looks like right at the end of the 17th century, what he looks like in the age of Dryden and in the age of Pepys and so on, here in this fourth one.